Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dene, your family law and wellness needs. I am Dene Matthews. I am the owner of the Dunn Matthews Law Firm, a boutique family law firm in Metro Atlanta, where we help people recreate their definition of family. And I started this show as a way to educate, empower, and enlighten individuals around the world about their daily, day-to-day tasks and trials and tribulations and how they intertwine with family law and how we can go about, making ourselves better, encouraging one another, and just being better versions of ourselves. And so today we have London Reeves joining the show. London is the Senior Director of Youth Development, Program Innovation, and Activation at Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And he's here today to talk to us about keeping our kids active and the importance of doing so. If you are watching with us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, be sure to grant StreamYard access to your comments so that we can see who you are, what your questions are. Feel free to ask as many questions as you would like, and we'll be sure to answer them. And so without further ado, I am going to invite on London Reeves. Hello, London.
Hello. And thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited to connect with you and connect with the audience.
I'm excited to have you. So for those of you that do not know, just a little background story. London and I have known each other for, we won't tell our age because we both look so young.
Let's just say more than a decade.
More than a decade.
Not more than 3.
Not more than a decade. I like that. Not 2 decades, definitely not 3 decades, but more than a decade. And so we have literally, I guess you could say, grown up together, and then we eventually went our separate ways. But I can probably say, and he better agree with me, that when we come back together for whatever it might be, and generally it's over food, that
how we all connect and come back together via the stomach.
And at that point in time, it's kind of as if we never really separated. We can still talk the talk and do the things and be genuinely whoever we are.
For sure. I mean, let's be honest, the only reason I realize that time has even passed is because your kids are getting older. That's it. Oh. That's the only reason how I know that time has even passed. It seems like sometimes it's just yesterday, the last time we connected. It might be quite some time that passes by.
Because otherwise, we young, sharp, fly, both doing our thing.
Absolutely.
And, that would be the only reason that they're getting older.
They're getting older, but we're getting younger.
Yeah, we're getting younger.
We figured out how to hack life.
I love it. So, and so that's just a little background about who we are. And so London has been working for Boys and Girls Club of America since we were in high school.
Yes.
Literally since we were in high school. I think, did you start maybe our 10th grade?
I did. Well, so, I'm a club kid, proud club kid since 96. So I grew up in the Boys and Girls Clubs in our hometown of St. Lucie County, Florida. And I started working for the team center when I was a senior in high school. My senior year of high school, I started working there. Yeah.
It wasn't our 10th grade year?
I was still a member then. I was
a member then. That's the
I was a member then still. But by senior year, I was fortunate enough to be hired on, and that's all she wrote.
I think it's because you spent so much time there. I think you actually worked there.
Yeah. Well, I did spend so much time, and even just with volunteering, and I had an opportunity to be a junior staff. So I did start working technically at in 8th grade through the club, but not for the club.
So working by volunteering and doing all those types of things, and now you get paid.
Paid.
Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks to work for Boys and Girls Club of America.
Yes, I work now for the national office, so I get to do all the fun things behind the scene things is how I would put it. Yeah.
So some people may have seen you on red carpet.
This is true. Some people may have seen me on the red carpets or even the blue carpets, getting an opportunity to engage with some of our high profile alumni and friends. I'm sure your audience may know a few people like, y'all may have heard of like this person named like Denzel. What is his name? His last name is
Not Denzel.
Washington. That's it.
Ooh, honey.
He's one of the
He
national
still looks so
spokespersons.
good. I'm sorry, that's so off topic, but he still looks so good. I'm just saying.
I may tell him you said hello next week. I might be seeing him.
Yeah, like it, introduce me, hook up, something, ooh, Denzel.
The
Anyway,
next event I'll have to invite you to.
you should. And so you are based in the Atlanta office.
I am Atlanta, Georgia. In fact, I relocated to Atlanta for a role at the Boys and Girls Club of America, the headquarter office. So yeah, I'm here in Atlanta.
So tell us a little bit about like your journey from member to now working for Boys and Girls Clubs to, what you like about it, what made you make that kind of transition.
Oh my gosh. So the producers told me that this is supposed to be a 30-minute show. So I will do my best to whittle that full journey and experience down some. But I will say this much. I could not have imagined in the third grade when my mother signed myself and my sister up for the club, that it would have had the impact that it's had on all of our lives, not just myself and my sisters, but also my mom included. And the wildest part is, when you talk to different alumni about their experiences, they all have different experiences, including me and my sister. We grew up in the same exact household, but the paths that we took, even while in the club, were just so different. The stories that we speak to and share. But I will say that the people, the staff and the volunteers, and even the friends that you make at the club are those that you just keep with you forever. And it changes your life. And so to go from being a member to then a staff was a bit of a transition, especially because I was a teenager working at a teen site. So I literally was a senior in high school, going to school with some of my 10th and junior class members of the club. But then from there, I was volunteering still while off at college, and came back and became a full-time program director, and did that for about 4 years, and then was promoted to take over a club that was moving into a new community. It wasn't a new building, but it was going to be a new club, is how I would put it. And I was over an entire facility with 150 kids and 15 plus staff, and did that for about 4.5 years before ultimately making the transition up to the national office. And it's been quite a journey, but it's been a dream.
And so, like, even when you were doing that, some things that I recall specifically are like the things that you would do for your kids at the club. So, attending their graduations, things, if they had something at college, you were there, taking them on trips to places that they have never been to before in their life and may not have even had the opportunity to go to that place. So,
Absolutely.
like, tell us a little bit about like why you feel that type of involvement in children's lives, whether it be from a place like Boys and Girls Clubs or any other form of mentorship, is important.
One thing about it, and two things for sure, you can never, especially as a youth growing up, a youth, a teen, a young person, but even when you think about adults, right? You can never have too many positive influences in your life. You can never have too many like caring and supportive adults in your life. And so for me, I thought back to my experiences growing up in the club from that 8 years old to 17 years old, and the things that not only my mentor, Mr. Marcus, shout out to Mr. Marcus Dixon, but even the other staff as well, who I could like rattle off a few names: Miss Gracie, Mr. Tommy, Mr. Todd, Miss Rosalind, Miss Barbara, so many.
And you still remember their names.
And I still remember their names. Still remember the names because they made an impact on my life. And so my goal when I became a staff, especially a full-time staff, was to, at minimum, recreate similar experiences that I had, right? So my first plane ride was to Anaheim, California for a Keystone Conference. First plane ride ever. Because of Boys and Girls Club. And so I did the same thing for a group of teenagers back in 2014. I wanted them to have that first time experience. Even when I think back to, and I was sharing earlier, my boo, that We didn't take summer vacations as kids.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I even remember leaving my hometown was in like fourth or fifth grade because my aunt from Georgia, Statesboro, Georgia, came down to bring us up for a week just to get away from my hometown. But had it not been for the club, we wouldn't have known what going to like theme parks or going to the pool or going to the beach or going to the skating rink was because my mom worked. She
Mm-hmm.
worked, and most of the times, if we were with my grandparents. They were older. They didn't. The only time we would leave the house is for doctor's appointments and for the grocery store. It was just so important to recreate experiences for youth and teens who are my members that they wouldn't forget. That would potentially put them on a path to change their lives as well. Is how I would put it.
Yeah, I totally agree because the simple fact that you remember their names, I remember Mr. Marcus. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only one I remember from those names you mentioned, but I didn't go there.
Yep.
But like the simple fact that you remember their names means that they, in some kind of way, like impacted you, even if it was like something that they said that made you, um, like take a certain trajectory in your life that maybe they told you that you couldn't, not specifically you, right? But if
Right.
you were a teen and you were dealing with somebody who was speaking negative things to you, that person's name is still going to stick in your mind and hopefully make you choose some certain directions that's going to benefit you as opposed to not.
Yep.
Does
For
that make
sure.
sense?
Well, I mean, I would even go a step further with that, right? So, in addition to other people saying you may not be able to do something, your own self-talk with what
Yeah.
you say you can and can't do. And so, I will say that I, especially growing up, was one of the most non-athletic kids out there. But the fact that
Oh,
I
you fly not, baby.
but the fact that I attended the Boys and Girls Club, I was able to be a part of an organized
Yeah.
basketball team. I don't recall ever. I think I might have made a free throw. And I got fouled one time in a game, and I made a free throw. So I'm pretty good with the free throws. But if I had not gone to the club, I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that an experience like that taught me to at least try. I
Yeah.
may not know how. I may not be highly skilled in something. I may not be fully confident in it. But if I at least try, I won't have to live with regret of not knowing
Yeah.
if it was for me. I feel like youth programs and after school programs, summer programs, they really allow youth and teens to experience things outside of their norm.
Yeah. And now you work out.
And do. And do.
Now, me on the other hand, I might need a little bit of encouragement because that is not something that's on my to-do list on a daily, weekly, or monthly um basis.
One day, maybe. There's hope.
One day there's
Maybe.
hope. One day
Yeah.
there's hope. I like to think that I try, but Dunkin' Donuts coffee gets me, chicken wings gets me, French fries gets me. A couple things get me, but
I get it.
I gotta get myself together.
But you know what? This is
But
what we all have to get it together in some capacity, right? No one has it all figured out. And I think there's something else that attending the club taught me is that no one has it all figured out.
yeah,
So just do what you think is best. Do what feels right.
yeah, that is so very true. And so, what for those people who can't necessarily maybe go to a boys and girls club. So, like for instance, the closest boys and girls club to me is 30 minutes away.
Mm.
There's a YMCA, it's about 20 minutes away. And so for those who maybe they're opposed to something of, a granular scale like boys and girls clubs or something of that nature, do you recommend that they at least do something for their kids? And if so, why?
Well, I have to say I have two answers to that. One, I would be remiss if I did not self-promote Boys and Girls Club and say that we are about to launch very soon a virtual club platform to where
What?
you can be anywhere in the world and participate in live sessions and even on-demand sessions of classes that are facilitated by Boys and Girls Club staff across the country. That's one. That's one platform, but then also currently we have a site called myfuture.net where members, or excuse me, youth and teens can log in or register and create an account to participate in some activities that are on there. Activities range from 20 minutes to 60 minutes. There's contests, there's events. We recently had an event with like Deion Sanders and even with Justin Simmons, Dak Prescott. So we do some pretty cool things online as well. However,
Interesting.
I would certainly also encourage the viewers and the audience who are watching to certainly find out what's available in your community as far as youth and teen programs. I can't speak to all of the other ones, but what I can say is my life was tremendously changed because of attending the after school program and even summer programs at the club. And so if you have one in your community, whether it's a club or another organization, enroll your students, enroll your children, children and
Not
teens.
this way of talking. Always on the work fence.
Right. But certainly it's always, you want to look for those programs because not only will it give them the opportunity to stay busy and again, figure out their interests, what they like doing, but it also creates the opportunity for them to just engage socially with others outside of their school, others outside of their home, others outside their neighborhood. There are kids who went to the club who I would have never come into contact with had I not gone to Boys and Girls Club.
So this is correct, right? myfuture.net.
Yes, it is. Okay. That is right.
And so is there a cost for myfuture.net or to be involved in that in general?
Myfuture.net is completely free.
Completely free.
Totally free. It's free to use, free to access.
And I get to hear from people like Deion Sanders.
You sure do.
Clearly is, and then listen, football is not my thing, okay?
Yep.
But I'm starting to learn because of one of these kids, okay? And I know he's over Jackson State, and Lord, if I messed that up, good Lord.
You have it right, JSU.
What? I can't believe it. I cannot believe I got that right. And so people to be in a space where I get to interact, or not even maybe interact, but just hear from people of that caliber who have gone through some things and have some guidance to give. That's a huge deal for free.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's totally free. And there's so many different, it's over 477 activities on there.
Wow.
From things that range from like DIY, do-it-yourself STEM, arts, music, just a whole lot of different programs in core areas, sports. So certainly feel free to leverage that platform, sign up and register. And if you are not a club member currently, you can always select virtual club when it asks what club do you attend.
I like that. I'm gonna be because my kids have to stay home this summer, but they will be involved in multiple activities because I believe in making sure that they are involved in multiple activities, because I think that being involved, whether that's at nighttime during the week when you're going to karate or football or dance class or whatever it is, to after school programs, to summer activities, is important, because not only does it give the parent some breathing space and some,
absolutely
some freedom a little bit, but it also develops a well-rounded individual. And so I will be looking at that myself, because they're going to be doing a mixture of things this year, which includes staying home this summer. Like a lot of kids have kind of had to do when COVID happened anyways. Everybody kind of had to readjust. Well, what do I do with these little people?
Yep.
During the day while they're home.
Well, interestingly enough, that's when we really beefed up the myfuture.net platform, because of that very reason right there, as a resource even for parents to leverage, so that their members, so that their kids, their children and teens could be active and busy and still doing some fun and engaging activities and programs.
So so that is a part of your role as senior director.
So that was a part of my former role. I mean, I still will have my hands in it a bit, but I oversaw that platform. But now, as a senior director of teen programs and innovation, I will be more so, me and my team will be more so responsible for really evaluating what we have out there already as programs for Boys and Girls Club of America, and creating some more. And I really want to put emphasis on creating more incredible experiences for teens movement-wide.
Interesting. I like it. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit about the people who you kind of remember from your days of being a teen and being mentored. And then we talked a little bit about the kind of things that you did as an overseer of a club. I hate the word overseer.
Director. We'll say a director of a club.
Director of a club. Thank you for that much better language.
All good.
What can a parent or even a teen look for, or child in general look for in finding mentorship that you believe they should look for?
Wow. One, you know what I would say? I would start with someone who has the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because, mentorship doesn't have to be something that's formal, right? So where it's like, oh, we meet every day for 15 minutes, or we meet once a week for an hour. It doesn't have to be anything like that. But you do want it to be somebody who honestly has the time to spend time.
Yeah.
So when I think about, even again, Mr. Marcus, there were times where I think he even needed a break from work, to where he would come and say, come on, y'all, let's do X. And so we started making these model cars. So we would go to Walmart and buy these box sets of model cars, and he would sit down and, make them with us, to where it was something. Then once he did it with us, for that month or whatnot, then we would just start going, the other members and myself, when we had saved our allowance or made a little money somewhere, we go to Walmart and buy our own box sets to then make at home and then gift Mr. Marcus with. So when it comes to like a mentor, I think that when looking for one, just somebody who has the time, but then two, somebody who actually cares. I think that's so incredibly important. And I feel as though as a youth teen and even as a parent, the people in your lives that you come into contact with who actually care and seem to care, because they show up. And not only do they show up, they're consistent in the way in which they show up. They're not one person one day and somebody else completely the next day. They're the same person consistently around. And that's something important to look for, because, I think we all or many of the viewers of the audience, I would imagine, knows of a child who's been disappointed potentially by a parent who didn't show up, right? Mm-hmm. So if we already have this person in life who pretty much has to be there, then anyone else who we have there who's volunteering to be there, we want them to show up and be consistent, so it's not another disappointment. So, someone who has the time, someone who cares, and just somebody who, is passionate about, the growth and success of other individuals, to where they're going to encourage and motivate and inspire you to go after your goals and go pursue your dreams, and even if you don't know the way, they will help you figure out that path. So I would say those are the three things that I would look for in a mentor.
So it sounds like that type of person would probably come naturally.
Yeah, I would say so. You might not even, they could be right up under your nose right now. Mm-hmm. Right? They may not even start out as somebody that you like or care for, but with time, you'll start to see that, oh, they actually care about me. And oh, like I actually did this with Miss such and such or Mr. such and such. And you start thinking about all the things that you might have gotten done. Like even, I think about even like a camping trip. My first time camping out in the woods, was with the Boys and Girls Club and from Mr. Marcus saying like, y'all can do this. Come on, we can go to the woods and camp. And I mean, slept in tents. I'm like seriously camped in the woods, roasted marshmallows and made s'mores over the campfire and canoed and all of these things. Where we're from.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't something that we did. The thing that we do.
It wasn't something that we did, but you think about those experiences that you have because of somebody. You realize like, oh, this is my mentor. You think about, again, like you said, them showing up to graduation or showing up to your award assemblies and your games and sporting events. You think about those things, and those are the people, the ones who keep showing up when they don't have to.
Yeah.
When they don't have to. So whether they're a relative or not, when they show up and they don't have to, that's a mentor.
I just went camping for the first time last year, and it was rough. It was rough. I think I'm more of like a glamper. Is that the right word? I think I'm a glamper, but
I'm with that at this point in my life for sure.
Yeah, like I prefer, maybe a blow up bed, a blow up couch.
Yep.
Maybe even a TV.
A little AC.
Something like that, right? However, Leroy, my husband, who but for everybody else, he had that experience growing up. They went camping all the time with other people who were, I guess you could say, kind of like mentors, but maybe they
Mhm.
were family members, things like that. And so he was a part of what do you call it? The Boy
Boy
Scouts
Scouts.
of
Okay.
America.
Yep.
Um, so they did that. Me, I like to be the outside is not my thing. And when I tell you the next day in my 30-plus-year-old body, because we're not talking about ages like we said in the beginning,
Mhm.
so it was breaking down on me the next morning.
Mhm. Yeah.
And there
You
were a lot
feel
of
it. You
and a
feel
lot
it.
of pains and a lot of, so glamping, I enjoyed the experience. But had I had it when I was younger by way of some other, program
Organization
or
or
something,
yep, group.
you know, I might have had some, my bones might have been used to it, maybe. I don't know. But what I do remember from, because I was a part of the Roar Club, which
Mhm.
is the teen club for Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And I remember, like, because my mama would practically die, when she would teach me how to drive. But I recall Trina, who was over the Roars Club, let me drive her car to the meetings when she had to take me, and she didn't almost die like my mama almost died. She gave me a little bit of grace, even though I almost killed her a lot of times.
Right.
But like things like that you remember, just being around other people, the experiences that you're given is a huge thing. And I would consider her a mentor to me at that
Absolutely.
time, because there were things that I learned and did that I probably would not have done otherwise, right?
Yeah.
We went to trips to Orlando, which was right around the corner, technically,
Mhm.
and shopping and football games and experiences that I otherwise probably would not have done. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a really good deal, right?
Sure.
Um
I remember Trina too. That's just how far back we go. I remember Trina in the Roars Club, and Dene was like a leader within that group. She's not, I know she's Attorney Matthews now, but she was always been a leader, and she certainly was a leader within that group. But and even with the Orlando thing, although it was and for us, and especially now as adults, right, working professionals, we think an hour and a half, oh, that's nothing, especially living here in Atlanta with dealing with traffic. But
I'll
there, I just
everything.
I think about those kids who, one, don't even have access to public transportation, which we didn't have public transportation growing up. But then two, who honestly had never really left beyond their 4 block radius.
Yeah.
That was it. So to even go to the neighboring cities like Vero Beach or to Stewart,
Yeah.
that was
That
like
was
us
a
going
big
to Orlando.
deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Mhm. Which, I mean, living here in Metro Atlanta, I think, some kids, excuse me, are opened up to a lot more opportunities because there's so much happening
Yeah,
in not really a small area, but I think parents are used to driving all over the place.
they are.
I
They
will
definitely
literally drive my kids 45 minutes to something all the
are. You
time.
have
I
to.
have to. Like everything is an hour away or whatever. But when you're in a place where you don't have that ability or don't have the MARTA or don't have, although the MARTA is not that great,
Right.
um, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But if you don't have those things, at least you have, carpool resources or a lot of things in your area that are still happening because you're in a metro um, place.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
agree.
listen, the mind is foggy because I just got off of a 4.5 hour mediation, so the mind is foggy. But you get what I'm saying. You get
I
what
do.
I'm saying.
Totally do. It's all good.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I think it's very different depending on where you live, but it's also still important to make sure that you are having your children participate in things.
Well, and something else too, I'd add when you think about resources, right? Um, and again, I can speak for Boys and Girls Club, but I imagine there are many other youth serving organizations who also provide, like during the summertime, especially a breakfast and a lunch, or a lunch and a snack. So many youth sometimes only get meals while they're at school.
Hmm.
So with these youth serving organizations, these after school programs or these summer programs, they also get funding to provide food to the community. So even if your child or your teen may be unsure about going to a program, summer program, at least if they went just for the lunch to kind of get their feet wet, to kind of get a chance to interact with other kids and teens, and kind of feel the facility out, they may start wanting to go. So that is also a resource for the parents who are watching, that these youth serving organizations have funding to provide summer meals. So don't miss out on that opportunity. If you can get your kids or teens to a program, get them to one.
And their funding is affected by what their enrollment looks like from year to year to year. And so making sure that you're at least getting them, I don't care if it's for like half the summer or something, getting them in, because a lot of times like summer camp is expensive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It is expensive. Even at a church level, it is expensive.
Yep.
So just making sure that you are exploring the opportunities available to you, whether it's at low cost or no cost, I think is important. So have you ever heard of, or maybe even the Boys and Girls Club, I don't know, have you ever heard of sponsorships for things like summer programs or after school programs?
Yes, for sure. So I will speak to two things regarding Boys and Girls Club. One, that our costs, and it varies from organization to organization because we are a federated model. So every organization is its own separate 501c3. So although we have the national office here in Atlanta, the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta is completely separate. It's still, is a part of the Boys and Girls Club of America, but it's its own 501c3. So I want to make sure that
like owning my own Chick-fil-A, except it's not a nonprofit. It's
exactly. It's the same model as like the Chick-fil-A's, the McDonald's, and things as such. But so there are individual organizations. So let's just say St. Lucie County, for instance, that offers potentially scholarships for members. Now, of course, they go quickly. But there are, even beyond just necessarily the youth serving organizations, but there are also programs that provide stipends for parents to put their kids in these summer programs and after school programs. But I know that with Boys and Girls Club, normally across the board, it's like a very low cost, if a cost at all, for membership, even during the summer programs.
Okay. So just because you might be someone listening who's thinking, I can't even afford to send my kids to these places, you should still explore the opportunity because there may be something for you.
I mean, can I do a breakdown real quick? Is that all right? Okay, so I'm going to give a breakdown of how, when I was a club director, how I was all about, again, creating those incredible experiences for youth and teens. So what I did, and this is another life hack for the parents who are listening. I know we get our tax refund checks. We get those taxes done early or whatnot. So my first summer as a club director, I would be so heartbroken when the buses would load up and there were members who were left behind. Like, I had about 150 members at my club daily. So on field trip days, the kids that would be left behind wouldn't even be 10% of that. It might be like 7 or 8, and all of their friends are now left for the day. And sure, at that point, you would have to leave at least 2 staff, one full-time and one, another staff, part-timer, and a male and a female. So that's now 2 staff who can't go and support this big group of kids and teens, because they have to stay behind and, be here for the kids. And yeah, they would plan things like, to keep it fun and lively, but it just wasn't the same. So that following year, I said, okay, we're going to start collecting summer registration in February. And so, first come, first serve, of course, but we're going to have all of our field trips planned out. We're going to have things broken down week by week of what the cost will be. And we at that point, that summer, we had 4 buses that we had to take to do field trips, 4 full buses, because the parents were able to do their part because I was able to keep costs low by starting early, right? So give you an example, for an 8-week program at my club, the total cost was $240.
Look at God, because
$240. We went to 3 big theme parks, and I mean like Wet n Wild, Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios. Weekly field trips to like either bowling or to the movies, to the skating rink, to the beach, to the pool, to the museum. So every week for 8 weeks, 2 field trips a week. And like I said, some big field trips in there. It was a total of $240 to keep costs low. Now, every director may not be able to do that and make connections and things. but you have to go and see what's out there and available, because you may think it's super expensive. It might cost you $500+ or $1,000 for your child to attend a youth program or a summer program, but that's not always the case. Do the research first and find out. Make phone calls. Show up to the facilities and
Yeah.
ask to speak to
Ask
the director.
questions.
Ask questions.
Questions. I think, and even more, even not even, the fact that not every director may be able to do that same thing that you did, but what you did also came from a level of compassion and understanding and wanting each and every kid to experience the same thing.
Yeah.
But, and although every director may still have those same goals, but maybe not the same connections like you mentioned or what have you. But it goes back to, I think we did a show back in October, I think it was, about your finances.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as planning ahead because summer is coming, or in the fall your child is going to want to play soccer or something of that nature, and the expense is bigger. And so you're going to start putting away little ducats along the way in order to be able to afford that. And then when it comes time to needing a scholarship or needing a grant or something else to help you with the difference in cost, it doesn't feel like so much is on your plate, especially when you've got multiple kids that you may have to be providing for.
Yes, indeed. And that's the piece even right there, the multiple kids piece. That is the part. Like I can think of a family right now. I can name the names of the kids, mind you, and I've been 7 years almost at this point removed from them. But their mom was the first one to come in the paper. She said, because you did it like this year, I'm able to send all 3 of my kids on this because we started early. You gave us first come, first serve as far as current members already. And it broke down to where it was like, this is so much better than any other year before.
It's helpful to be able to plan your life, no matter how big or how small your income is. Being able to plan your life is helpful, period.
Absolutely.
So excuse me, I want to ask you about, because I know that you would attend college graduations for your kids, that the visits, the homecoming, whatever is going on, right? So can you talk a little bit about how volunteering and things of that nature being on a teen's I guess it's not their resume, but it's their background, can be helpful for the college process?
Yeah, so any type of so I consider volunteering like even work experience, right? Mm-hmm. So not only can you be putting it on your college entrance resumes, but you can also be putting it on job resumes for when you're out of college. So even if you're in college, be thinking of volunteering at youth serving organizations for that very reason. I know for myself, like being able to list some of the trainings, right, that I had as a member at the club, which then like to be a junior staff, and then being a junior staff for like summer 2002, summer 2003, I was able to put those things on my resume to get a job at like a Publix, right, where shopping is a pleasure.
Well, you did that for quite a little bit of time.
Right. And then even when you think about again, like college, for them to see that you have volunteer experience, not only were you going to school and taking care of your grades, and you might have been involved in other extracurricular activities like a sports or a musical program, but then you also are doing volunteering as well. Like again, that well-roundedness, I think is what you spoke to a little earlier, is necessary. So certainly get into these organizations and volunteer, fill in where you can, because they're needed. You're needed. Even if you're a teen yourself, if you're 15, even 16, there are opportunities to volunteer for the younger age groups, or just even support the staff or the administrators at those programs.
Yeah. And researching different things, because sometimes they may come by way of the school sending something out to the parents, or they may just come from the place where you least expect it. Right? A friend, a relative, your church, whatever it is that you may have like going on, just finding out about those things, because sometimes I have seen situations where clients have had kids who aren't necessarily they don't necessarily have the best grades, right? They passed, which is amazing, but they don't necessarily have the best grades, but they want to go to a certain school. And the other things on their application is what helped boost them up into being able to even get into the school that they really wanted to go into.
Yep.
And so I think sometimes a lot of times parents focus a lot on grades and making sure, you got to get your grades and this and that, or they don't focus on it at all. And then they don't focus on the volunteer part or the working part. And those things kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
But,
Because the thing is, even too, like, that's life.
yeah.
In life, you have, especially as an adult, you have so many things that you are trying to manage at one time. So there has to be that, again, that well-roundedness to show that you are more than just this one-dimensional person. It can't be just all about academics when it comes down to entering into college or even entering into the workforce. You need to be able to show that you've done other things and that you had a life, to be honest.
And then I can balance them all and juggle, because life is a juggling thing.
It is. It is.
I just want to say to the parents out there and the generation above me that y'all didn't really prepare me for this thing called adulthood. I'm here.
I feel like they set us up. They didn't tell us the truth.
They set us up.
They did.
They set us up.
I see it probably like at least twice a week. It's a setup. And not only that, it's just not what I thought it would be. All I wanted to do was drive and stay out late. That was it. The
and be
bills,
on my phone. And
the working.
I was a really great kid. We talked about that before we got on here. I was a really great kid.
Sure, let's go with that. Let's go with that. All right. No more comments from me.
Oh goodness. But no, for real. Like, as a kid, you just want to like be a kid and you want to enjoy being a kid. But there's also that thin line of making sure, at least once you get into that 15, 16, 17-year-old time frame, that you're doing the things that are going to set you up for success in the future, right? Like, you don't really think about it, but I think as a parent, you have to be realistic with your kids about what they're going to expect and not just say, enjoy your childhood while you can type deal, right? Like, being a little bit more realistic about what they can expect, because that hopefully is going to alter their actions. And if it's not, like, sign them up. Like you said, anyway, when they get there, they may enjoy it. And if not, next year, try something different, because we don't need to be continuing, or maybe not continuing is the right word, but we need to make sure we're setting kids up for success moving forward, and not having false expectations that life is just going to be a fairy tale.
Yeah, it's not all cotton candy and Skittles. It's certainly not.
Right. And the bills come and you got to pay them. And most certainly, I don't want to. And some people have to pay their bills with a job that they don't like.
Yeah.
Period. Or the boss that they don't like.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever it is. But like, I'd much rather pay them and be able to travel and do things that I like to do, no matter how small or big that is, knowing that I'm doing it from a position of what I like to do, or something that I'm enjoy doing. And I got there because of the things I did before now.
Absolutely. And I think that even what you said, that phrase, set them up, that's the way we, even as adults, have to think, like, what is this action or what is this choice? How is this going to propel me to get closer to where I want to be? Because like I said, no one has it all figured out. I firmly believe in that. I don't care how talented, how smart, how whatever you may be, rich, no one has it all figured out. So it's all about thinking about our choices and then how are they going to propel us to the next level of where we want to be.
Yeah. I figured out one day.
Yeah.
But I still ain't got it figured out. I'm still working towards it. So just imagine, like, 16, 17 years old and trying to figure it all out. And it's just one step at a time.
Well, and even when you think you have it all figured out at 16, let's be honest, I think 16, 17, 18-year-olds think they have it all figured out.
I did.
We did.
But did not.
At all.
Did not. At all whatsoever. But hey, we're still learning every day. Because if you're not, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to keep you for too long. I know I told you 30 minutes. Is there anything that you want to leave the viewers who are watching now on Instagram, Facebook, etc.? Is there anything that you want to leave them with?
Oh, gosh. Well, a couple of notes. I have to say this. So my mother had heard about Boys and Girls Club from several sources. And her thoughts were like, no, because of the location, because of the area at the time and growing up, she's like, my kids aren't going there. And I just cannot, again, express enough to let them try it out. Whether it's a Boys and Girls Club, whether it's a YMCA or YWCA, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever a community program, a local community program, a church program, summer program, let them at least try it out. Because I just feel as though I just know I don't know where I would be today if she did not change her mind and say, okay, y'all can go for this one day. And she went from day one. Now, I didn't like it the first day. I'll be honest with you. I did not like it. But I kept going back. And again, the trajectory of my life was changed from that moment. From that
and to add a little context, that particular club was right in the middle of the hood.
Yeah. Yeah. And my mom was like, my kids, and not that we were some silver spoon kids,
right.
But like we were living with my grandmother at the time, you know what I mean? With my grandparents, my grandfather and mother. But she gave it a chance. And like I say, I know my summers were never the same again.
And you said earlier that you had you not gone there, you would not have ever even probably interacted with some of the people that you interacted with who
definitely not.
Like, you obviously like.
Yeah, definitely would not have.
With.
Only people I would have known, especially in my age group, were the ones I went to school with and the ones that I lived in my grandmother's community. Other than that, I wouldn't have had any other interactions with other youth and teens. But because of the club, I was able to meet so many youth and teens. And I'm talking not just from the community that club was in, but from other schools in our county.
Yeah.
Because we traveled with the club and went to other clubs in neighboring cities. Because we traveled took my first flight, went to California and met kids from all over the country. So don't get caught up on where the program is. There's a program that your kids and teens can be in. So take that leap and sign them up and, let them try it out.
Even if you as a parent may not be comfortable, because the same mother that he's referring to at some point in time ended up coming to that same club.
She did. She certainly did.
Just to kind of put it again in context. Because I know even to now I say things like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want. And I have to sometimes catch myself about the negative thoughts that I'm like allowing to enter into my brain or that are coming out of my mouth that are not going to be helpful, that I don't have no clue what my kids may experience.
Yeah. And you know what else too? I say trust your parenting skills. Even trust your parenting skills when it comes down to who your child is and who they are going to be. I don't think that one person or two people or even 10 people can influence somebody to where they completely get off track, especially if you're still parenting beyond that program, parenting beyond that schoolhouse, parenting beyond, the neighborhood.
Yeah, agreed.
Be mindful of your parenting skills and trust that it won't even the environment that your kid is placed in will never matter because they're going to be leaning on what they've learned from you, all the positive things they've learned from you.
That is so very true. And someone posted from LinkedIn by the name of Shamika, and they said, teaching how to manage and lead using your own life as the first platform to practice. And so that is very, very, I think that's very profound.
Yeah.
And then you're giving your children that opportunity to use their life as the first platform for them to practice for when they have children, and so on and so on and so on.
Absolutely.
And it's creating a generational situation.
Yeah, I would say so.
Oh, thank you, Shamika.
Thank you, Shamika.
Well, I want to thank you, London, for joining us today. I know last week we got canceled because I did not have a voice.
At all. So I'm glad you're feeling much better.
I am so glad. So I greatly appreciate you joining us today. I know our viewers and those who will watch this next week and so on and so forth and listen to the podcast when it is put up will greatly enjoy this conversation and get a wealth of knowledge from it. Make sure that y'all are getting your kids on myfuture.net. that you're putting them into, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club of America or some other thing, make sure that you are doing that. And again, thank you so much, London. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly enjoyed this, and we'll have to.
We will press the wrong button.
All good. But thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. All right, everybody. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Conversations with Dene, your family law and wellness needs. Make sure that you are following us on social media. On Instagram, we are at D Matthews Firm. We are on YouTube. Just search the Dun Matthews Law Firm. Facebook, and check our website, www.dunmatthewsfirm.com, so that you can rewatch this, share it with someone who may benefit from it. And we do this show every single month, bringing you something new and exciting that you can use in your day-to-day lives to make not only yourself better, but your children better individuals and well-rounded for the world that we are living in today. Have a great evening. I wish you guys the best.